Hey everyone, Boone here from PremiumBeat.com. So today I wanted to play around with some stop motion animation, and in particular I want to create this paper crumple effect. And I'm going to take you step by step through my process, and by the end of it we're going to have something that looks like this. Disclaimer here, throughout this tutorial I'm going to be talking about the gear that I'm using to create the stop motion animation, but by no means do you need to utilize the same gear. You can easily get this same look utilizing an app on your phone. So again, don't get too hung up on the gear. One of the key parts to making a stop motion animation work is the camera position. And now this is a particularly unique challenge for me because I'm working in my apartment, which is a very small space. So as you can see in the example, all of the action moves in and out of frame while my camera is stationary. For this reason, it's important that I have a solid rig. So I'm using a tripod pointing straight down to my paper, which is on the ground. Now not all tripods do this, so you may need to use clamps, C-stands, or a GorillaPod depending on the size of your actual camera. So now let's take a look at the lighting. So if you're using a natural light source to light up your stop motion animation, you need to be careful. Something as simple as a small cloud passing over in the sky can quickly change the intensity and the color of the light, giving your animation a jittery look. Now that's fine if you don't mind this look, but if you're looking for something a bit more uniform, you'll want to use lights in a controlled environment. For this particular shoot, I'm using a single softbox. It's also important to be cognizant of the positioning of your light. You don't want to cast any shadows on your scene, which can also mess up a single frame of a complex animation. So once we have our camera positioning and our lighting set up, we're ready to shoot. Before you start shooting, it's important to put a little thought into how long you want your animation to be. So I really like the slower looks of stop motion animation, something that's a little more blocky. So to achieve this, I'm going to shoot at 10 frames per second. Now I'm looking to get an animation anywhere between 4 and 5 seconds in length. So if I'm shooting at 10 frames per second, I can shoot roughly 50 photographs. If you take a closer look at our finished product here, we have a crumpled piece of paper moving into frame, it uncrumples slowly, it's open for a second, it crumples back up, and then it moves off frame. So I can actually break this into 5 different sections. First, where it comes into frame, I can shoot 10 photographs of it coming into frame, and then 10 photographs of it uncrumpling, another 10 photos while it's open, 10 more photographs of it crumpling back up, and then the final 10 as it moves off frame. Now I have roughly 50 photographs. Now, as I said before, it's super important to keep your camera still, otherwise you're going to move that frame and it's kind of going to give you more of a jittery animation. Even something as simply pressing the shutter button can move your camera. So to avoid this, I've tethered my camera to my laptop via a USB cable. Now I've tethered it to my laptop and I'm using Adobe Lightroom. If you don't have Lightroom or you don't have a way to tether that camera, you can always look at buying a remote or setting up the interval record settings inside of your camera if your camera has those settings. So this will allow me to not only remotely trigger the shutter, but I can also review those images on a large laptop screen. Okay, so I have my stop motion animation all shot. Now I just need to edit it together, and I'm going to do this inside of Adobe Premiere Pro. Now again, don't worry too much about the gear. You could put this together in a variety of different programs. So let me show you how to do this inside of Premiere Pro. I'm going to double click in my project panel, and here I have all of my photographs that I shot. I ended up shooting 48 in total. Now I'm going to select the first one, then go to Options, and you'll see down here image sequence is selected. So all I need to do is select that first one, and it's going to bring all these in as basically as a video file. So I'm going to click import. And now what this does, if we look up here at the info panel, you'll see that this is actually set to 29.97 frames per second. So we don't want that. We want that at 10 frames per second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this. I'm going to go to modify, interpret footage, and now I can manually go ahead and put in 10 here. Can make it assume this frame rate. Now the cool thing about this is if I want to test out a couple of different looks, I can just duplicate this and change this to 15 frames per second, 20 frames per second, and take a look at those different looks and pick which one I like the best. I'm going to hit OK. Okay, now I'm going to go and create a new sequence here. And I'll just make a 1920 by 1080 sequence, that's fine. 24 frames per second. Now I'm going to go and grab my new stop motion animation, drag it into my sequence, select keep existing settings. It's trying to automatically adjust our timeline to the sequence, to the clip settings, because this clip is very high resolution. So right now I need to actually scale this down. So I'm going to go up to Effect Controls, go to Scale, and then scale that down. There we go, that's looking good. Now let's take a look. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Be sure to check out PremiumBeat for high quality, royalty-free music and sound effects for all of your media and video projects.